Hey there, good evening. It is nice to see you. It's always nice to see you for the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to reporters, writers, editors, journalists, people of all sorts who put stuff out in the Bronx so we can get some insight and inside. And we're going to do that in our first segment with a top flight City Hall reporter. And then in our second segment, one of the best places in the Bronx, we'll talk about the Bronx Music Hall and an incredible film they're showing and all the other great stuff they do. Right now, let's say hello to Jeff Coltin. Our buddy Jeff is a reporter and co-author of the New York Playbook for Politico. And just for the background, he's been covering New York City politics for a decade, most recently as City Hall bureau chief at City and State, where he authored the Campaign Confidential newsletter. This is how Gary found out about everything going on in politics. Nice to see you, Jeff. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to see you again. Always thank you for having me.
So here's the general question, and then I'll mention the headline. You know, what is Eric Adams, the mayor of the city of New York? What is his thought about the new president of the United States? And your headline was Trump brings down the hammer, Adams stays muted. So presumably, this was the executive order to end birthright citizenship, something which is being constitutionally challenged. And one would think in the bad term to use, sanctuary city, this would be something the mayor of the city of New York would jump and say, no, no, no. Where are we at? What's going on out there?
Yeah, so there are two things going on at the same time here. One of them is the policy aspect. And yes, Eric Adams is playing very nice with Donald Trump. He, unlike many Democrats, even in this second Trump term, where people are generally being, more welcoming to Trump than they were in 2017, he is going to the inauguration, canceling plans last minute in New York City to drive all the way to Washington to go to the inauguration. He went to Trump's property in Florida near Mar-a-Lago to sit down with him. They're talking on the phone. He's chatting him up. And he even, surprisingly to everybody, basically said, I am not going to publicly disagree with Trump. The president has been kind enough to me to have a relationship with me where if we disagree, I'm going to disagree with him privately. Now, not every Democrat has that position. So Adams is doing that. He argues that it's better to have a good relationship with the president. And, he's got a point there.
That's undeniable. You certainly would like to do that. Yes.
Exactly. And Trump is a mercurial person, and he does really deal a lot with personal relationships. So, yes, there is a lot of sense to that it's better for New York City if Eric Adams, the man incarnate of New York City, is nice to Trump, and maybe that will protect the city from things like budget cuts and other possible repercussions of a GOP trifecta. So that's point one. Point two.
Into what we're going to talk about further down the line here. Go ahead. I'm following right along.
Good. So yeah, point one is this. Yes, maybe it is just the right political thing to do, but you cannot ignore the fact, point two, that Eric Adams is under federal indictment, and Donald Trump has the power to pardon him or the power to pressure the Justice Department to drop the case. And we've seen movement on this. We have seen Donald Trump himself say he would be open to pardoning Eric Adams, getting him off. And we've also seen the Department of Justice holding meetings with Adams' lawyer, reportedly discussions about dropping this case. So many of Adams' critics, they say, Adams is claiming that he's treating Trump kindly to the benefit of the city, but really his motivation is his own, to save his own skin and to drop the federal case. So I do think it's both of these, and it's a fascinating moment.
And you also, let's just say, you wrote an article, dropping Adams' case could make legal history. The allegations against him, we don't need to review them right now, but they are in other situations, you'd say, wow, these are pretty serious things. And maybe that's, his bottom line is it just seems a little odd that he's kowtowing so um, directly to the president and in opposition to what really a fundamental precept of New York City is as a sanctuary city. And I use that term because, of course, it gets thrown around. But we have welcomed migrants. We have welcomed, of course, immigrants of all over. And here I am sitting in the borough of the Bronx, and it makes sense to say that. In addition, presumably Mayor Adams was not happy about all the migrants that were sent here. And we can debate also how well he did or how not well he did, but he acted, I think, appropriately. Some people can judge, again, good or bad, but he really tried to do something with them rather than taking the opposite stance. The mayor of Chicago, who has really been dealing with ICE agents rounding up people there, and of course we're starting to get it here in New York, is a black man and came out directly against the president and said we don't accept it, et cetera, et cetera. But he's not under indictment. I suppose that would be the difference, right?
Yes, and look, we also saw the same thing with Ras Baraka, the mayor of Newark.
Yes.
There was a ICE raid in Newark, New Jersey, and the mayor came out with a sharp statement basically saying, we don't like the way you're doing this. Effectively, we don't trust ICE. On the other hand, Eric Adams is giving ICE, giving federal immigration officials kind of the benefit of the doubt. He's saying, you know what, at this point, you guys are doing okay, and I'm not going to, jump at it and criticize. And I'll be clear, as far as we know, the mayor is not violating any sanctuary city policies at this point. Yes, there was an ICE raid in the Bronx, but it wasn't like NYPD was handing over people. It was just kind of an independent. There was minor coordination, giving a heads up to the PD that they were coming in, as they always do. But it didn't, as far as I can tell, violate sanctuary city policies. So yes, a lot of Democrats in Eric Adams' position have chosen to proactively step up and say, this is going down a bad path. We don't like this. Eric Adams, on the other hand, is saying, basically, all right, seems fine to me. Like, go right ahead.
Shooting down your reasoning number one would be the idea that thinking that it would help benefit the city and whatever the city gets, something like $160 billion from the federal government, that it will help us. It doesn't seem to have, because I did not hear President Trump say when his plan to cut federal funding, I didn't say we're going to do it everywhere, but we're not going to cut it in New York City. And in fact, the President of the United States right now and for several years has not had New York City on his plus column, so to speak. And so I wonder if that kowtowing can have any effect, because we saw potentially the effect. And frankly, I interviewed the controller of the city of New York the other day, and he was like, I already put out a whole plan of what we're going to do financially, anticipating that New York City's finances would be changed. So I don't know how valid that is. I mean, you've already cast the speculation on it. The other thing which is interesting to me is the relationship between the mayor and the governor. Now, Governor Hochul has also taken some criticism, as far as I could see, for her kind of riding the fence, so to speak, when it comes to Trump's policies. But she, of course, is not under indictment, so that knocks that out. But what do you make of the mayor and his attitude toward Governor Hochul, and vice versa? Do you get the sense that this huggy thing that they do when they see each other is for real, or are they really like, I don't want to have to deal with this person?
No, they personally have a very good, mutually beneficial agreement. Hochul and Adams, I mean, I guess I could say, I don't know about what's personally in their hearts, but politically and publicly, yes, it's a very positive relationship that benefits both of them. The governor wants to have a good relationship with the mayor of New York City, both for policy reasons and also for political reasons. It's very, helpful to have the black mayor of the nation's largest city and the main city in your state be on your side and be constantly praising you. He is always saying, Hochul is great and she's helping me, and they really, both of them, do their best to disagree with each other as little as possible. When it comes to Trump, of course, I think we saw Hochul take the more traditional Democratic path this year. That is to say, when Trump was elected, she said, I am willing to work with him. I will give him the benefit of the doubt. But after these first 2 weeks of Trump in office, she's basically changed her tune and has been criticizing him more harshly. Maybe not as harshly as other
some
Democrats.
other Democrats, yeah.
But still, she's kind of turned on him and is willing to criticize. Eric Adams is not, and has completely still stayed on Trump's good side, even after the crazy things like handing the government over to Elon Musk that we've seen in the past 2 weeks.
Right. I saw there was, and I forget which item it was. There have been so many that 8 governors signed on to a bill or a protest of something the president has done. And I was assuming that New York's governor would be signing to that, but she wasn't on the list. Anyway, last thing, which we only got a minute and a half. The mayor said, and this was reported by you, who started the stupid rumor that I was stepping down on Friday? Are you out of your mind? He said, this was Jeff's writing. He said to a friendly crowd at an annual City Hall breakfast for faith leaders. Was there really a rumor that, I had heard that he was ill, but was there really a rumor that he was like, he'd had enough or something? I seemed not credible.
Among reporters and people around City Hall, there was this rumor spreading among text messages and phone calls that something was going to happen. Maybe more charges were going to happen and the mayor would resign. Nobody reported anything on that because nobody could confirm it, because it didn't happen and it wasn't going to happen. And sure enough, the mayor basically pushed back aggressively at that speech. It was his return to public. And his point was, I am still here. I'm not resigning, and I'm fighting for you. He has a very difficult path to re-election. He's polling horribly. He's under indictment. He's got a lot of challenges.
He was not going to be getting matching funds and all that kind of stuff. Now, I moderated, as you know, I moderated a mayoral forum, and he was not there. He was certainly invited. But my guess is he would rather just avoid those kinds of things, because he knows he's going to be a target from 5 people, and he'll get to it eventually, but he doesn't need to now. Anyway, Jeff, we got to get running. Thank you so much. When I said at the top of the show,
thank you for having me.
Inside, that's what we get from Jeff Coltin, reporter and co-author of the New York Playbook at Politico. Thanks for everything you do. You keep me informed, and if I'm informed, then everybody gets informed. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that.
Okay, great. We're going to take a short break, folks, and then the Bronx Music Hall, the new Bronx Music Hall, one of the best places in the Bronx. They're going to be here. Don't go away.